What's going on, guys? This is Dark Teros here, and today I wanted to make a video on why Nien Nunb is a bad character in HVV. Now, I just want to say, I just want to get this out of the way. If you're gonna be one of those dudes that are gonna go in the comment section and try to argue that Nien Nunb is a good character in HVV, and that you're just gonna completely ignore everything that I say in this video because you're a Nien Nunb main or you like Nien Nunb, whatever. Click off the video right now, because this is just not the video for you. Everything that I'm going to be saying is completely factual and is based on objective evidence after fighting the character for years upon years and after playing him a bit in HVV and other modes. So everything that I'm going to be saying here is not only factual, but it's probably also observable as well. So, if you're gonna be one of those people that are just gonna be like, no, I don't care, I'm just gonna play on them anyway, or whatever, click off the video right now. And another disclaimer, this is just pertaining to Nien Nunb and Heroes vs. Villains. Nien Nunb is considered to be a top 2, if not the best character in the game when it comes to all other modes. He excels very well in other modes because he's able to play his defensive game extremely well as the Rebels, and he's able to capitalize very well on certain situations that no other character can because he has a broken mechanic on certain maps and certain game modes. With that out of the way, let us begin the video. So there will be certain sections of this video where I'm going to be talking about, first I'm going to be talking about Nien Nunb's mechanics, and why he could consider it to be good in theory. And so I'm going to be covering his pros, and I'm going to be covering his cons. And this character in HVV has more cons than he does pros. Then I'm going to be talking about his matchups, which matchups are really bad, which there are a lot of them, and how specific you need to be when it comes to not only picking certain characters to use with them, but also picking certain characters when it comes to some other things as well, which I'm going to get into in a minute. And then I'm going to conclude the video of like just an overall reason why Nien Nunb just isn't good. Like, what he tries to do just isn't that good in HVV, why his game is just considered not very good, and why he just doesn't have a real place in the Battlefront meta overall. So first off, let's talk about Nien Nunb's pros, because Nien Nunb definitely has some tools in this game. To say that he doesn't have tools in this game would be very, very disingenuous and unfair to the character, because he definitely has tools in this game to do something in HVV. It's just what he does in HVV is very selfish and just not very good overall. So, looking at his base kit, he has 3 abilities like every other character. He has mines, which are really good for chip, and it will allow you to secure certain areas of the map so infantry cannot rush you. He has a pulse cannon, which is very good for zoning and long-range combat. So if you want to fight like a good Boba Fett or a boss, you have the tool to do so. And the highlight of this character is his turret. Without this turret, Nien Nunb would probably be completely unviable in HVV and probably wouldn't be that good of a character overall. But because of that turret that he has, he actually has a legitimate niche in HVV. The whole purpose of Nien Nunb in this game is to be a character that locks down certain areas of the map and to make it to where it is very difficult for enemies not to rush you. That's his whole playstyle. He's a lockdown, very tightly defensive character that wants to hold certain positions in the map, and he wants to make sure certain characters cannot just rush in, like, you know, just immediately. They can't just brain dead walk into your turret and expect not to die, because your turret is the legitimate threat. And if you get enough damage with Nien Nunb, his turret can actually upgrade. When his turret is fully upgraded, Nien Nunb's turret does massive amounts of damage. Like, you get dumb fucking damage from his turret. You get an insta-melt of blocking Vader within like 6 to 5 seconds, all the way from full health, and just completely annihilate the character. And if it melts Vader that fast, you can imagine how fast it melts other characters in this game. Those are the pros. She's a pretty good defensive character, in theory, which I'll get into that later on in the video. However, that's in theory. And if you guys have noticed, I've been using the word defensive a lot. Why is that? Well, this goes right into the cons. The cons of Nien Nunb are very, very glaring if you've been playing this game for a while, and if you've played Nien Nunb a bit. He has very, very glaring flaws that hold him back severely in HVV. HVV in this game is a very, very fast-paced, offensive game mode. Very, very offensive. It is to be played very aggressively, and it is to be played, you know, with a goal in mind, to kill the villains or the heroes. That is the objective. And depending on the team you're playing, most of the time you're going to be seeing people pick very, very aggressive offensive teams. Luke, Chewie, Lando. Leia, Chewie, Luke. Lando, Leia, Luke. You know, teams like that have like a solid defensive backbone to back it up, so they have a defensive purpose. And they have a character that has big damage, and they have a character who can pressure very well. Those are the three things that you want on a team. You want a character who can play very well defensively and offensively. You want a very good character that's very tanky, like Chewie, and does a lot of damage, which is why you will probably see Chewie and Vader every game. And you want a character that does a lot of pressure, and is really good at pressuring, like Luke Skywalker, Lando Calrissian, Bosk, and Boba Fett. Those characters are very good at pressuring people. Nien Nunb, on the other hand, does not have any of those things, bar the defensive pressure. Nien Nunb's offensive pressure in this game is absolutely pathetic. His offensive pressure is so bad that pretty much every character would like laugh at it if a Nien Nunb main would ever attempt to make an offensive play versus a villain. Every single character in this game destroys Nien Nunb on an offensive level. Nien Nunb can only play defensively. That is his biggest flaw. The other thing, because Nien Nunb is a purely defensive character, he forces certain matchups. Meaning that he forces his team to play in a specific way, and he forces his team to play specific characters. Nien Nunb Han Solo is probably one of the worst hero combinations in the game, period. Nien Nunb and Han Solo synergize horribly, because the way that you can just play around it is just pick Boba Fett and Bosk, and just zone them both out, and they wouldn't be able to do anything at all. So Nien Nunb needs a team built around him for him to be successful. So, ideally, you want characters like Luke who can pressure the opponent if they try to punish Nien Nunb. You want a character like Lando who can also punish people if we're trying to go for Nien Nunb. You want Leia because Leia's really good defensively and she gives Nien Nunb armor buffs, health, honor guards, you name it. She's a good synergistic tool for pretty much every team in this game, especially for Nien Nunb. Nien Nunb becomes way better defensively when he does have a Leia, and either a Luke or a Lando with him. But that's really it when it comes to the matchups. Nien Nunb in 1v1 either loses so horribly to offensive characters that it's almost impossible to play offensively, forcing him to play defensively. And because he's forced to play defensively, there are certain things that can happen within the game. Say that you are Bosk, right? Your team is Vader, Emperor, Bosk. Nien Nunb is, say, on this map, Raider Camp. This is the most brain-dead Lando Rebel map in the game. This map is really, really brain dead. This map is absolutely ridiculous when it comes to offensive pressure for Rebels because Lando is just so good. Not this Lando, because that Lando was garbage. But the Rebels have a huge advantage offensively on this map. Now, let's say that Nien Nunb has this turret. Here, I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. Most Nien Nunbs, what they like to do is they like to come up here and then place a turret. So they'll come up here, they'll place their turret down. Excuse me, Luke. They'll try to put a turret down, like, say, a spot like that. And it's just like a really high ground spot. So, like, they'll put it right here. Or they'll put something like this, try to do, like, a reverse turret type of thing. And that's kind of the biggest problem with Nien Nunb, is that when you find out where the turret is, say if you're playing against the party, that party is going to call out the turret is over here. Don't go over here, the turret is right here. So what does this mean for Nien Nunb? If he can't really use his turret in that way, and people play very evasive around it, what can he do? Well, he's going to be forced to rely on people trying to just rush him at that point. Because what most people make the mistake of is they try to rush Nien Nunb when the turret is no longer active, but the problem is he still has defensive tools like the pulse cannon and the mines, plus team support, which could put an end to a cocky villain very quickly. However, villain players that play very, very safe against Nien Nunb, who zone him out, who chip him throughout the game, who play offensively at the right time, when he's either transitioning into another defensive position, or when you force him to transition to another defensive position, and that's the problem. When Nien Nunb is forced to transition, or forced to rotate in any way, his team is going to pay the price for it. Usually during rotations, you as a character want to have some form of offensive pressure, because without offensive pressure, the Imperials are going to have a much easier time pressuring you. So, because Nien Nunb has a very, very hard time with those kind of issues, the Imperials can just be like, well, Nien Nunb is rotating, now it becomes a 2v3, because Nien Nunb can't just stand his ground and fight like that. He's going to be forced in a position where he needs to run away, regardless, because his offensive game is so pitiful and bad that he has to run away and try to do a new setup. And this highly works against his team, because as Rebels, you don't just want to be running away all the time, because the good Imperial players will take advantage of that, and will take advantage of the fact that you're doing nothing but run away, and will just slowly chip you out the game. And there's nothing that you can do about it. Nothing. Literally nothing. If you allow that to happen in your team, the Imperials are going to get very, very easy wins. And Nien Nunb is going to be a complete detriment to your team. And that situation happens more often than not, where Nien Nunb is a complete detriment to the team he's on because of that lack of an offensive presence. Very, very good Imperial players, like I said, will take advantage of the fact that Nien Nunb's offensive presence is really bad. They will. And there's nothing that you won't be able to do about it, because Nien Nunb is forced to play defensively, because his offense, like I said, is so shit. So, when he's forced to rotate out position, or like, his team is stuck in scenarios where it is inevitable that he's going to be chipped to death, Nien Nunb is nothing but a detriment to your team. The same could be said for offensive teams. Offensive teams never want a Nien Nunb on their team. Never. Players like me, Son of the Night, Elite Spiral, Boba Fett 1998, CJ, Cookie Monster, Leo, Pilot, all of those players are offensive players. They excel very well at playing offensively. When Nien Nunb is picked, you're forcing those people who are comfortable in a offensive position to now play defensively. And for somebody that does play offensively, that can be very, very uncomfortable, because now you're forced in scenarios that are just like, you know, one, not very fun, because the whole fun for players like me is to rush, get in the Imperial's face, force them back, pressuring the opponent. That's the whole fun of playing Rebels in this game, is when you are good enough that you can offensively pressure Imperials. Nien Nunb completely goes against that ideal, making offensive play completely obsolete. What often happens is that a Nien Nunb goes to make a setup, right? And there are some Nien Nunbs who are better at making good setups, right? However, Nien Nunbs who, even like good Nien Nunbs struggle with this, because you have to aggro people into the turret. And if you do not aggro people into the turret, then it's completely pointless. Nien Nunb's use is just garbage. You can't do anything with Nien Nunb if that's the case. Say, like, you have two rebels, right, and the Imperials decide to camp, right? If the Imperials are deciding to play very defensively in camp, and you have no choice but to push, because they're not ever going to push, what is Nien Nunb going to do? Tell me. What in the hell is that character going to be able to do? I'll answer that question for you. Nothing. Nothing at all. And if they decide to play very safe, not just camp, but play the neutral game, playing offensively and defensively, pushing in and out of a fight, doing stuff like that, Nien Nunb is also going to struggle a bit, because there are going to be moments where you are going to force the Rebels to make an offensive play, or you lose. It's a you lose or win scenario, as I call it, or else it's GG. Nien Nunb is absolutely going to get the Rebels killed in scenarios like that, because you can't make offensive plays anymore. You can't, because you have Nien Nunb. And during those offensive scenarios, it's going to end up being a 2v3, 1v2, whatever the case may be. You're going to realize that because Nien Nunb's offense is so pitiful and poor, that when he's forced in that scenario where he has to retreat and has to make a new setup, no matter what, or you lose, and he dies, that's when the Imperials can take the advantage away from the Rebels and just start annihilating them. And that's the unfortunate part about Nien Nunb. No, those are all the cons, and those cons hold that character back a lot. And there's another thing too. It's rather small, but like, there's a reason why you don't really see fully upgraded turrets that often. So, Nien Nunb's turret, the way it works is that the more damage you get off of villains, and the more soldiers you kill, there's a little progress bar on where the turret is, and once it fully fills up, it becomes fully upgraded. Unfortunately, this will only work for that turret. If you were to, say, destroy the fully upgraded turret, or the Nien Nunb is forced to destroy it, that turret has to, its progress is reset, and you are forced to do that all over again. And you are never ever going to see a game where Nien Nunb is going to be able to fully upgrade his turret twice. Keep in mind, each match in HVV is 3 minutes long. At minimum, it's going to take Nien Nunb about a minute to 30 seconds to 2 minutes to fully upgrade his turret. He's never going to have enough time to get his second turret fully upgraded, if there is a second turret. And even then, his turret has multiple issues. I don't know if I've already talked about this, but his turret can be destroyed by ion weaponry, such as the ion torpedo. From a distance, if you use the ion torpedo, it's guaranteed to one-shot Nien Nunb's turret. The ion grenade, with a direct hit, one-shots the turret. Emperor Palpatine could instantly melt the turret, and Orson could just put his droid over it, completely nullifying the turret entirely. And his mines can be used against his teammates. And that's the whole problem with Nien Nunb too, is that you can actually use his tools against his own team if you play well enough, which is also massively detrimental. So, now I've gone a little bit into this already, but what matchup problems does Nien Nunb have? Well, to really be honest, he has a problem with every character in this game. All of them. He has a problem with every single character in this game. No matter which character he's going to be facing, he's going to encounter some form of issue, regardless which character he is facing. not Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader does not care about Nien Nunb's turret for the most part. If you go against a Vader that knows how to fight against that turret, that Vader is just either going to stone you to death if your team is not pressuring him correctly, or he's just going to tank all your abilities out and there's nothing you can do. Straight up, nothing you can do as Nien Nunb, because your offensive presence... If you try to play offensively versus a Vader, it's pretty much guaranteed death. There's nothing you can do at that point. Literally nothing. You are basically dead at that point, and you might as well just put down the controller if you are stuck in a place where your turret cannot do anything. You might as well just uninstall at that point. Emperor Palpatine, same thing, except Emperor has a bit more trouble with Nien Nunb's loops, but the thing about Emperor is that because he's such a good hit-and-run character, he can just straight up ignore Nien Nunb. And that's another problem with Nien Nunb too, is because he's so offensively bad, and you can take advantage of his rotations. If he fucks up a rotation, Nien Nunb is no longer a threat to you. In that moment, Nien Nunb is just not a threat, and most characters in this game ignore him. Palpatine ignores him, Vader ignores him, pretty much every character in this game ignores him except maybe Greedo, but Greedo is the worst character in the game, who I'm also going to make a video on. Boba Fett, really depends how good Boba Fett is and how good Nien Nunb is. If both players are really, really good, the Boba Fett is usually going to win that matchup because Boba Fett just can play in a way where you can ignore the turret and just force Nien Nunb to repeatedly place new turrets all game and just slowly chip him to death. I'm not even really talking about Greedo because I honestly think that matchup is pretty even for the most part, if Nien Nunb is playing correctly anyway. Dengar, kind of the same thing, but if Dengar gets in close to Nien Nunb, Nien Nunb is going to have some very big issues versus Dengar because he's a very good up-close character, and that's where a lot of his damage comes from. If Dengar catches you up close and you're playing Nien Nunb, and he's at, like, say, full health, you are in a very, very bad spot, and that's not a desirable position as a player that you want to be in, ever, with Nien Nunb. 1v1, Nien Nunb versus Dengar is on certain maps is probably one of the most lopsided matchups in the game, period. Because Dengar will always force Nien Nunb in a position where he wants to run away because he doesn't want to take all that explosive rush damage. He doesn't want to take all that damage. He doesn't want to fight a decently healthed character like Dengar, ever. He never wants to fight that, ever. Bosk, the matchup is even worse because Nien Nunb has to contend with a character that has a very broken passive, who is the fastest character in the game, bar Luke with his passive. He has really good abilities that mean that if you fight Bosk right now and he's at a decent amount of health, you are going to die. And you are not going to be able to beat anything versus this guy. That's just the way how the matchup with that character is. It's very, very one-sided. The matchup is really bad. The only thing that Nien Nunb may have going for him is how broken the spawns are in this game, and on certain maps, you can manipulate the spawns to have soldiers spawn on you, therefore the soldiers can be doing the work for you. But if you're playing a character that is reliant on your team like that, then why not just pick Lando, who gains even better benefits from something like that? Why would you ever want to pick Nien Nunb if you want to fight somebody like Fox? You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't make any sense in that context. No. no. And Orson, it's even worse with Orson. Now, Orson is arguably the worst 1v1ing character in this game, by far. His 1v1 game is absolutely horrible, but as I stated earlier in the video, he's very, very good because he's able to support his team in a way that is kind of broken because he has very unfair, broken tools. Like Armor Breaker, like Armor Upgrade, the Dioxis Shield, which is very, very annoying. He has unfair, broken tools. Then you have to take into account that Nien Nunb is purely defensive, and Orson, you know, he has the same problems. He has really, really bad matchups. His 1v1 game is absolutely terrible. His offensive pressure is pretty minuscule without his team. However, he does have really, really good offensive pressure when he has a good team, and he has broken-ass abilities and tools, which work in his favor. So, in Nien Nunb, when he's armor broken, and when he has to face an armor-upgraded Vader, no chance. No chance. Vader will just completely ignore the turret at that point, and every character will just form on Nien Nunb and insta-kill him. There's nothing you can do. Orson is pretty much the best counter to Nien Nunb in this game, period, just because he completely nullifies Nien Nunb's effect, and that's the passive damage that his tools can do. Orson completely takes those tools away because he's able to armor upgrade his heroes. Now they're extremely tanky. Now they're just going to get completely annihilated because Orson has broken tools. And then Nien Nunb's going to get armor broken, in which case he's just going to get super melted. So now you're making that already pitiful offense even worse with Orson. So Orson versus Nien Nunb in a team fight scenario is probably the worst matchup in the game, bar Chewbacca versus Greedo, or Greedo versus Lando. Greedo versus Lando is by far probably the worst matchup in the game, because that character literally can't do anything to Lando, because Lando just has tools that completely destroy Greedo. Completely and utterly. Now that we've talked about the matchups, I think it's time to talk about the character overall. Unfortunately, Nien Nunb and HVV, it just isn't that good. In theory, his defensive tools sound really good, and when you verse people who aren't familiar with Nien Nunb, who aren't familiar with the matchup, less experienced players, or players that are below your skill level, Nien Nunb can do well. But against good P players that know how to play this game, that know how to position well, that are going to play safely versus Nien Nunb, that aren't going to play too overly aggressive versus him, that know how to exploit his flaws to the point where they make him absolutely useless. The character has way more flaws than he does pros. And those pros are already very, very niche as it is. So, overall, the way how I'd rate Nien Nunb in this game is, in HVV, he is a low-tier character. I honestly think that he is worse than Jin, because Jin, at the very least, has a broken tool like Armor Breaker. She, at the very least, has that going for her, and she can blind boss, because it's a Sonic Imploder. Sonic Imploder is pretty decent in a game mode like this where boss was so good. However, because Nien Nunb is a very niche character, you only want to use on the very specific maps, where, yes, Nien Nunb also has map problems too. Certain setups are going to be better on certain maps, and certain setups are going to be even worse on other maps. That's just the way it is. And that just makes him a very, very, very situational character in high-level play. At low-level play, you could use him, but at low-level play, you can use pretty much any card set with any character, and you won't have any real issues. Believe me, you won't really see Nien Nunb's flaws against a bad team. When you go against a very good team, you'll start to realize just how horrible the character is in HVV, and how limited he is because of the way his kit is built. So overall, he's like a low-tier character. He's down there with Greedo. He's down there with Jin. it's just kind of unfortunate because in the other modes he's probably top 2, if not the best character in the game. But in HVV, it's a complete reversal. The metagame is completely different. It's very, very aggressive. Playing passively automatically puts you at a disadvantage versus good teams. And because of that, Nien Nunb is a very situational character that you only want to use if you're a complete master of the character and you have a lot of matchup knowledge and experience, and you're facing people that don't have a lot of knowledge of Nien Nunb and not very good matchup experience versus the character. But other than that, do not pick Nien Nunb. There are other characters that do what he does better defensively. Lando is a really good character who's really good at hit and run, has probably the biggest damage in the game. Leia is really good defensively. She can heal her teammates. She has one of the best defensive passives, if not the best defensive passive in the game, because it gives her teammates armor, which is broken in this game. And she has a really solid offensive game because she's so tanky and because she has pretty decent damage to top it off. But she does share some of the downsides that Nien Nunb has. And for Imperials, most people that play Nien Nunb usually play Bosk for some reason, which what a weird reversal that is. But yeah, that's gonna be all for my opinion with Nien Nunb. I'm probably going to make similar videos on characters like Greedo and Jin and why I think they're low-tier characters. I might also make videos like this on characters that I feel that are underrated and slept on, like Han Solo and like Boba Fett. But other than that, that's going to be it for today, guys. If you like this video, leave a like and subscribe down below. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, friends.